event list. Go back. Checked. There we go. It did that whole thing where, oh hey, I'll kick you out for no reason. You start not working for some reason because. Anyways, there was only one random stream for, and let's hope I don't screw it up. Because if I do, I'm gonna be disappointed.
Okay, let's see if this key fits in the old breaker box.
Hello again, Fire. Gotta go to freaking iMovie. You know, should I do some reading? Should I do some reading? Okay, the stream seems to be good. Alright. Good. Don't know what that was all about, but whatever. I don't know what I should do. I don't know if I would read. Like, if I were to read, I for some reason feel like it would get boring fast. I'm just gonna look around. Should we continue the Q&A if it was still even a thing? Let's watch one of my FNAF plush vids, then you can read Into the Pit. Alright, good. Cool. Deal. Fire Ninja Smithy boy. Unplug my laptop. Oh boy, there goes my dad cursing in the background. That's how you know that my channel is PG-13, but yet my younger brother that's 6 has to watch my videos because he thinks that it's appropriate for him. You know what? Let's just watch his Security Puppet plush review. Let's do that. Oh, I see you got that PS4. I'm not even gonna try.
So, yeah, reviewed. So, okay, now first of all, it's the same material as the Security Breach plush C's. So, that's not very good. I had to fix his mask. Her mask, I don't know. Oop. The box has like a foam in it.
The foam.
I don't get it. The button is printed. Yeah, the box is very weird. It has cardboard in the. It's like Montgomery, where they don't continue the pattern. But this is a very nice box. I really like how they made it. I like how she's in the box. This is what they should have done with Twisted Fall. She is kind of small. I thought her head would be bigger, but it's not. So
her head would be bigger.
Sad. It's weird because the hands are made of normal Funko material, kinda, not really, but they're more softer than this. They're just softer.
You even got that little thing on your head.
The hands have stripes, which I think is very nice.
But they're not like the original Puppet plush.
Puppet had embroidered stripes, which I think printed stripes are a lot better. Another complaint I had about it is that it had the mask. The mask is weird. It's very thin.
Doesn't remind me of anyone at all.
Look how thin that is.
Oh, he's doing the face. He's doing the face. Alright, I kind of got bored of that one. Now we're gonna get into the good stuff. Lovely. He already start off with it by Freddy laying on the ground acting like he's dead, and Foxy standing behind him like he committed a murder. And Bonnie standing right behind him. My dad could stop burping loud because no one cares. S1S.
Oh,
I
jeez.
still need that
What just
plush.
happened?
Literally, I still need Spring Bonnie.
Okay.
Let's go from 1 to 7.
Zero orbit safe.
So it will make sense.
I can do this. I can do this.
I don't think we'll be able to have time from 1 to 7. But we can, however, do this. Lovely. Now this is a full-on PG-13 stream. Alright. Don't know what we should do now besides just reading, because it's like I feel like I should just read the entirety of Into the Pit. You know, I'm gonna start reading. Get over here, you fatty. I think it's funny how I only did episode 2 and I didn't do episode 1. Clever. Alright. Wait, who made each story? Does it even say who made each story? No, it didn't. Of course it doesn't. FNAF Into the Pit. Story 1 Into the Pit. The dead possum's still there. Oswald was looking out the passenger window as the gray furry corpse on the side of the road. Somehow it looked even deader than it had yesterday. Last night's rain hadn't helped. Nothing looks deader than a dead possum, Oswald's dad said. Except this town, Oswald mumbled, looking at the boarded up storefronts at the I think you would like this story. I'm trying to read, but I don't know why I can't. But anyways, and the display windows, which were displaying nothing but dust. What's that? Dad said. He was already wearing the stupid red vest they put him in when he worked at the deli counter at the snack space. Oswald wished he'd wait to put it on until after he dropped him at school. This town, Oswald said, louder this time. This town looks deader than a dead possum. His dad laughed. Well, I don't guess I can argue with that. 3 years ago, when Oswald was 7, there had actually been stuff to do here. A movie theater, a game and card store, and an ice cream shop with amazing waffle cones. I need to concentrate. But then the mill had closed. The mill had basically been the reason town existed. Oswald's dad had lost his job, and so had hundreds of other kids, moms and dads. Lots of families and had moved away, including Oswald's best friend Ben and his family. Oswald's family had stayed because his mom's job at the hospital was steady, and they didn't want to move far away from Grandma. So Dad ended up with a part-time job at a snack space, which paid $5 an hour less than he'd made at the mill. And Oswald watched the town die. We are now officially one page in to the frickin' book. Finally.
Damn it! No, come on!
Wait, hang on.
We're gonna need to find the
Oh, I skipped to page.
complete it before the
Dang
door
it.
will open.
Once business after another shut down, like the organs in a dying body, because nobody had the money for the movies or games or amazing waffle cones anymore. Are you excited it's the last day of school? Dad asked. It was one of those questions adults always ask, like, how was your day? And did you brush your teeth? Oswald struggled. I guess, but there's nothing to do with Ben gone. School's boring, but home's boring too. When I was 10, I wasn't home in the summer until I got called for supper, Dad said. I rode my bike and played baseball and got into all kinds of trouble. Are you saying I should get into trouble? Oswald said. No, I'm saying you should have fun. Dad pulled into the drop-off line in front of the Westbrook Elementary. Have fun. He made it sound so easy. Oswald walked through the school's double doors and ran smack into Dylan Cooper, the last person who wanted to see. He wanted to see. Oswald was apparently the first person Dylan wanted to see. Though because his mouth spread in a wide grin, Dylan was the tallest kid in 5th grade and clearly enjoyed looming over his victims. Well, if it isn't Oswald the Ocelot. Sorry, that's my voice for him. He said, his grin spreading impossibly wider. That one never gets old, does it? Oswald walked past Dylan and was relieved when his tormentor chose not to follow him. When Oswald and his 5th grade classmates were preschoolers, there was a cartoon of one of the little kid channels about a big pink ocelot named Oswald. As a result, Dylan and his friends had started calling him Oswald the Ocelot on the first day of kindergarten and never stopped. Dylan was the kind of kid who'd pick on anything that made you different. If it hadn't been Oswald's name, it would have been his freckles or cowlick. I just made a playlist for my friend. Good, cool. Anyways, the name calling had gotten much worse this year in U.S. history when they'd learned that the man who shot John F. Kennedy was named Lee Harvey Oswald. Oswald would rather be an ocelot than an assassin. Since it was the last day of school, there was no attempt at doing any kind of real work. Miss Meacham, I don't even know, had announced the day before the students were allowed to bring their sorry, I had to burp there. Their electronics as long as they took responsibility for anything getting lost or broken. This announcement meant that no effort would be made toward any educational activities or of any kind. Sorry, I suck at reading out loud. Oswald didn't have any modern electronics. True, there was one laptop at home, but the whole family shared it, and if he wasn't allowed to bring it to school. He had a phone, but it was the saddest, most out-of-date model imaginable. And he didn't want to take it out of his pocket because he knew any kid who saw it would make fun of how pathetic it was. So while other kids played games on their tablets or handheld consoles, Oswald sat. After just sitting became intolerable, he took out a notebook and pencil and started to draw. He wasn't the best artist in the world. Hey, yeah, I can relate to him. But he could draw well enough that his images were identified, and there was a certain cartoony quality about his drawings that he liked. The best thing about drawing, though, was that he could get lost in it. It was like he fell into the paper and became part of the scene he was creating. It was welcome escape. He didn't know why, but lately he had been drawing mechanical animals, bears, bunnies, and birds. He imagined them being human-sized and moving with the jerkiness of robots in an old science fiction movie. They were furry on the outside, but the fur covered a hard metal skeleton filled with gears and circuits. Sometimes he drew the animals' exposed metal skeletons, or sketched them with the fur peeled back to show some of the mechanical workings underneath. It was a creepy effect, like seeing a person's skull peeking out from beneath the skin. Oswald was so immersed in his drawing that he was startled when Miss Meacham turned off the lights to show a movie. Movies always seemed like a teacher's final act of desperation on the day before break. A way to keep the kids quiet and I can't read, I'm sorry. Still for an hour and a half before setting them loose for the summer. The movie Miss chose was, in Oswald's opinion, too babyish for a room full of 5th graders. It was about a farm with talking animals, and he had watched it before, but he watched it again because really, what else did he have to do? At recess, kids stood around tossing a ball back and forth and talking what they're going to do over the summer. I'm going to football camp. I'm going to baseball camp. Basketball camp. I'm going to hang out at my neighborhood pool. I'm going to stay with my grandparents in Florida. Oswald sat on a bench and listened for him. For him, there would be no camps and no pool memberships and no trips because there was no money. And so he'd drawn pictures, play his old video games that he'd already beaten 1,000 times, and maybe go to the library. If Ben were still here, it would be different. Even if they were just doing the same old stuff, they'd be doing it together, and Ben could always make Oswald laugh, riffing on video game characters or doing a perfect impersonation of one of their teachers. He and Ben had fun no matter what they did. But a summer without Ben yawned before him, wide and empty. Anyways, a burp again. Most days Oswald's mom worked from 12 p.m. until 12 a.m. Jeez. So his dad had to make dinner. Usually they got by on frozen meals like lasagna or chicken pot pie, or on cold cuts and potato salad from the snack space that were still good enough to eat but no good enough to sell. My nose is like. When Dad did cook, it was usually things that just required boiling water. While Dad got their dinner ready, Oswald's job was to feed Jinx, their very spoiled black cat. Does this mean that I'm gonna get haunted by a humanoid rabbit? Anyways, Oswald often thought that he used about the same amount of cooking skills in opening Jinx's can of stinky cat food as his dad used in his dinner preparation. I think Oswald and I can relate. Tonight, Oswald and Dad were sitting down to plates of blue boxed mac and cheese and some canned corn his dad had zapped in the microwave. And it was a very yellow meal. You know I was thinking, Dad said, squirting ketchup onto his macaroni and cheese. What? Who's freaking squirting? Who squirts ketchup on their mac and cheese? Why did he do that? Oswald wondered. I know you're old enough to stay at home by yourself some, but I don't like the idea of you staying by yourself the whole day while your mom and I are at work. I was thinking you could ride into town with me in the mornings, and I could drop you off at the library. You could read stuff. You can read, surf the net. Oswald couldn't let this one slide. How out of date could his dad be? Nobody says surf the net anymore, Dad. They do now, because I just said it. Dad forked up some macaroni. Anyway, I thought you could hang out in the library in the mornings when you get hungry. You could head over to Jeff's Pizza for a slice of the soda, and I could pick you up there once my shift's over at 3. Oswald considered for a moment. Jeff's Pizza was kind of weird. It wasn't dirty exactly, but it was run down. The vinyl on the booth seats had been repaired with duct tape, and the plastic letters had fallen off the menu board above the counter, so the listed toppings include pepperoni and hamburger. I'm working on the movie now. Oh, cool. Anyways, it was clear that Jeff's Pizza used to be something bigger and better than it now was. There were tons of unused floor space and lots of unused electrical outlets along the base of the walls. Also, on the far wall was a small stage, even though there were no performances there, not even so much as a karaoke night. It was a strange place, sad and not what it had once been. If my dad could stop burping, that'd be great. Like the rest of the town, that being said, the pizza was decent. The more important, it was the only pizza in town if you didn't count the kind of frozen food department at the snack space. The few good restaurants in town, including Gino's Pizza and Marco's Pizza, which unlike Jeff's had real pizza maker names, had closed their doors not long after the mill had. Holy, it's almost 12 a.m. Yeah, I can't believe it either. Oh, you're just kidding. Oh. You screwed me up. Not for me. Well, we all have different times, so don't argue over it. So you'll give me the money for pizza? Oswald asked, since Dad's job loss. Oswald's allowance did to practically nothing. Dad smiled a kind of sad smile, it seemed to Oswald. Son, we're bad off, but we're not so bad off. I can spot you $3.50 for a slice and a soda. Did the stream cash? I stopped watching about 2 hours ago. No universal. I'm reading into the pit. I'm reading into the pit, literally. Think of me as your audiobook. First day of summer break, huh? Mom went back to the stove to scoop up a pancake with her spatula. He probably should have tried to sound more enthusiastic, but he couldn't muster the energy. She slid the pancake onto his plate and then served him 2 strips of bacon. Not the same without Ben, huh? He shook his head. I suck at reading. I suck. He wasn't going to cry. Mom ruffled his hair. Wait, Mom ruffled his hair. Okay, that sounds weird. I know it's a bummer, but hey, maybe a new friend will move to town. Oswald looked at her hopeful face. Why would anybody move here? Okay, I see your I see your point, Mom said, peeling a nut on another pancake. But you never know, or maybe somebody cool already lives here. Somebody you don't even know yet. Maybe, but I doubt it, Oswald said. These pancakes are great, though. And to burp again, I don't know why. Mom smiled and ruffled his hair again. Well, I've got that going for me anyway, so you want more bacon. If you do, you'd better grab it before your dad gets in here and vacuums it all up. Hey, that's also my dad. Sure, it was Oswald's personal policy never to refuse more bacon. but I'm not the one that eats bacon. The library was actually kind of fun. He found the latest book in a science fiction series he liked and a magna that looked interesting. As always, he had to wait forever to use the computers because they were all taken by people who looked like they had no place else to be. I read into the pit in an hour. Anyways, men with scraggly beards, wearing layers of ratty clothes, 2 thin women with sad eyes and bad teeth. He waited his turn politely, knowing that some of these people used the library for shelter during the day, then spent the night on the streets. Jeff's Pizza was as weird as he remembered. The big empty space beyond the booths and tables was like a dance floor where nobody danced. The walls were painted a pale yellow, but they must have used cheap paint or only one coat, because shapes of whatever had been on the walls before were still visible. It had probably been some kind of mural with people or animals, but now it was just shadows before a thin vial of yellow paint. Oswald sometimes tried to figure out what the shapes were, but they were too blobby to make out. Then there was the stage that never got used, standing empty but seemingly waiting for something. Though a feature even weirder than the stage lay in the back right corner is a large rectangular pen surrounded by yellow netting, but it had been roped off with a sign that said, "Do not use." The pen itself was filled with red, blue, and green plastic balls that had probably been brightly colored once, but were now faded and fuzzy with dust. Now we're in the actual frickin' pit thing. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna put on a different video. Another freaking video that I watch. Sorry if this is just gonna be freaking boring, because it already is. Alright. I just for some reason thought that I already turned the page, but never mind. Alright, here we go. Oswald knew that the ball pits have been popular features in kiddie playlands, but had largely disappeared because of concerns about hygiene. After all, who was going to disinfect all those balls? Oswald had no doubt if ball pits had still been popular when he was little, his mom wouldn't have let him play in one. As a licensed practical nurse, she was always happy to point out places she found to be germy, whatever, to play in. And when Oswald would complain that she never let him have any fun, she'd say, "You know what's not fun? Pink eye." Anyways, except for the empty stage and the ball pit, the strange feature in Jeff's Pizza was Jeff himself. He seemed to be the only person who worked there, so he both took orders at the counter and made the pizzas. But the place was never crowded enough that this was a problem. Today, like all other days, Jeff looked as if he hadn't slept in a week. His dark hair was sticking up in weird places, and he had alarming bags under his bloodshot eyes. His apron was stained with both recent and ancient tomato sauce. "What can I get you?" he asked Oswald. "What can I get you?" He asked Oswald, sounding bored. "A cheese slice and an orange soda, please," Oswald said. Jeff stared off into the distance as though he had to think about whether the request was a reasonable one or not. Finally, he said, "Okay, $3.50. One thing you could say about Jeff's pizza slices, they were huge, like New York pizzas, like big boys." Jeff served them on flimsy white paper plates that were soon stained with grease, and the corners of the triangles always overlapped the plate's rims. Oswald settled into a booth that his slice and soda, the first bite at the trip of the triangle, was always the best somehow. Some of the proportions of all the flavors in that bite were perfect. He savored the warmth, melty cheese, the tangy sauce, and the pleasantly greasy crust. As he ate, he looked around at the few other customers, a pair of mechanics from the oil change place he had folded up their pepperoni slices and were eating them like sandwiches. I'm pretty sure my dad does that. A table full of office workers clumsily attacked their slices with plastic forks and knives so they wouldn't drip sauce on their ties and blouses. Oswald guessed. After Oswald finished his slice, he wished for one more, but he knew he didn't have enough money for it. So he wiped off his greasy fingers and took out his library book. He sipped his soda and read, falling into a world where kids with secret powers and went to a special school to learn how to fight evil. "Kid," a man's voice startled Oswald out of the story. He looked up to see Jeff in his sauce-stained apron. Oswald figured he had outstayed his welcome. He had sat in a booth ready for 2 hours after having bought a meal that cost less than $4. "Yes, sir," Oswald said, because politeness never hurt. "I got a couple more cheese pizzas that didn't sell at lunch. You want them?" "Oh," Oswald said. "No thanks. I don't have any more money." He wished he said. He did, though. "On the house," Jeff said. "I didn't have to throw them out anyway." "Oh, okay, sure, thanks." Jeff picked out Oswald's empty cup. "I'll get you some more orange soda while I'm at it." "Thanks." It was funny. Jeff's expression never changed. He looked tired and miserable even when he was being extra nice. If I read Fazbear Frights the first, I'll tip the To Be Beautiful. To Be Beautiful is weird to me. Jeff brought 2 slices stacked on a paper plate and a fresh cup of orange juice, or orange soda. "Here you go, kid," he said, setting down the cup and plate. "Thank you." Oswald wondered for a minute if Jeff felt sorry for him. If Jeff might think he was terribly poor, like the homeless people who hung out all day in the library instead of the regular, barely making ends meet poor that he was. But then Oswald figured if there was free pizza sitting in front of you, Maybe it wasn't time to worry about the reasons for it. Maybe it was time to eat. Oswald had no problem polishing off the two huge slices for the past month. He, his appetite had been unstoppable. When Mom cooked him piles of pancakes in the morning, had to burp there. She said he must have be ha- he must be having a growth spurt, causing him to eat like he had a hollow leg. His phone vibrated in his pocket the second he stuck down the last of his soda. He looked at his dad's phone. We'll be front at Jeff's in 2 minutes. Perfect timing. It had been a good day. I got a all ripped to be beautiful on. Okay. The days at the library and Jeff's Pizza started to add up. The first couple of weeks had been great, but now the library didn't have the next book in the series he was reading. And he had grown bored of his online fantasy game, which, while advertised as free, now wouldn't let him advance any further without paying money. What kind of game does that? Is it EA? Anyways, he had gotten tired of not having anybody his age to hang out with. He hadn't gotten tired of pizza yet, but he was starting to imagine that he might in the future. Tonight was family fun night, a one night a week event that varied depending on Mom's work schedule. But when the mill was still open, family fun night meant dinner in a restaurant, pizza or Chinese or Mexican. After their meal, they do some fun activities together. They go to the movies if something kid friendly was playing, but if not, they'd go to the bowling alley or to the roller rink where Mom and Dad used to go on dates when they were in high school. Mom and Dad were great skaters and got no warmth, no texture, and besides, you like those old Zen Derblick movies, and the special effects in those are terrible. Yeah, but I watched those to make fun of them, Oswald said, even though he really did think Jesus was pretty cool. Mom came in front of the kitchen with bowls of ice cream. Not as good as the waffle cone place, but nothing to turn your nose up at either. Okay, if you guys don't cut out the nerd argument, I'm going to pick the next movie we watch. And it's going to be a romantic comedy. Oh no. Oswald and his dad shut up immediately. Anyways, that's about what I thought, Mom said, passing around the bowls of ice cream. As Oswald was lying in bed sketching his mechanical animals, his phone vibrated on his nightstand. There was only one person other than his parents who ever texted him. Hey, Bennett typed on the screen. Hey back, Oswald typed. How was your summer? Awesome. At Myrtle Beach for vacation. It's so cool. Arcades and mini golf everywhere. Jealous. Oswald typed and he meant it. A bench with arcades and mini golf really did sound awesome. Wish you were here, Ben typed. Me too. I'm gonna go get water. My throat. Okay, get up. It's time for you to go. Yeah. Yeah, get up.
Log is closed, but I need to stay in here. Stay in here. Mark, I'm gonna. Yeah, I do. I think it's a great place. You watching those stairs by you? No, Junior. Alright, there's 11 alive. Let's just go.
Alright, let's continue reading because now I got friggin' water. How's your summer? Okay, Oswald texted. He was briefly attempted to make his summer sound cooler than it was, but he could never lie to Ben. Been going to the library a lot, lunch at Jeff's Pizza. That's all. It did sound pathetic compared with the family trip to the beach. He texted, pretty much yeah. I'm sorry, Ben texted, and then that pizza place is creepy. They chatted a little while longer, and although Oswald was happy to hear from Ben, he was also sad that his friend was so far away and having such a good time without him. I'll come to that. Monday morning, and Oswald was in a bad mood, even his mom's pancakes didn't help him. In the car, Dad turned up the radio too loud. It was some stupid song about a tractor. Oswald reached for the knob and turned it down. Hey dude, driver picks the music. You know that, Dad said. He turned the awful song back up even louder. It's bad music, Oswald said. I'm trying to save you from yourself. I'm trying to save you from yourself. Well, I don't like those video game songs you listen to, Dad said. But I don't just barge into your room and turn them off. Yeah, Oswald said, but I don't force you to listen to them either. Dad turned the radio down. What's with the attitude, son? What's bothering you? It's not just that I like country music. Oswald didn't feel like talking, but clearly he was being forced to. And once he opened his mouth, he was surprised to feel complaints erupting from him like lava from a volcano. I'm tired of every day being exactly the same. Ben texting me yesterday. He's at Myrtle Beach having an awesome time. He wanted to know what I was doing, and I told him I was going to the library and Jeff's Pizza every day. And you know what he texted back? I'm sorry. That pizza place is crazy. Dad sighed. I'm sorry, we can't go on a vacation, and I have an awesome time. Things are hard right now where money's concerned. I'm sorry it affects you. You're a kid, you shouldn't have to worry about money. I'm hoping they'll move to some full-time at the store in the fall. That'll help a lot. And if I get promoted to daily manager, it'll be another $1.50 an hour. Oswald knew he shouldn't say what he was about to say, but here he went anyway. Here it goes. Ben's dad got a job and he pays even better, but the job. And let me say that again. Ben's dad got a job that pays even better than his old job at the mill. Dad tightened his grip on the steering wheel. Yeah, well, Ben and Ben's dad had to move 500 miles away to get that job. His voice sounded tight as his grip on the wheel, and Oswald could tell his jaw was clenched. Your mom and I talked a lot about it, but we decided not to move, especially with your grandma living here and needing help sometimes. This is our home, kiddo, and things aren't perfect, but we just need to make the best of them. Freaking reading books. This is why I barely talk out loud sometimes. Oswald felt himself crossing the line from grumbling into grounding territory. But why did some people get the best of everything and others had to settle for free library visits and cheap pizza? If my dad wouldn't burp so loud, then that'd be great. And so every day you toss me out on the street like garbage. If this is the best thing, if the best is if the best if this is the best of things, I'd hate to see the worst. Now, son, don't you think that's a little dramatic? Oswald didn't stick around to hear the rest of Dad's criticism. He got out of the car and slammed the door. His dad sped away, probably glad to get rid of him. Just as he predicted, the library still didn't have the book he wanted. He flipped through the free magazines, the kind with exotic jungle animals, which he usually liked, but they weren't doing much for him today. When his turn came for a computer, he put in his earbuds and watched some YouTube videos. He put in his earbuds and watched some YouTube videos. I'm officially saying that Oswald is the worst character in this book. But he wasn't in a good enough mood to laugh. At lunchtime, he sat in Jeff's Pizza. Hey bro, I'm done with my story time. I'm about to upload it. Do you want to do a reaction? In probably a little bit, Crystal, because I'm reading Into the Pit. Literally, I'm reading Into the Pit. Every day. Wait, hang on. At lunchtime, he sat at Jeff's Pizza with his slice and soda every day, a cheese slice. If his dad wasn't so stingy, he'd give him another $1 so he can have a pepperoni or sausage. But no, it had to be a cheapest pizza you could get. Sure, money was tight, but really was another $1 a day going to break the bank? Looking around the place, Oswald decided Ben was right. Jeff's Pizza was creepy. There were those shadowy painted figures on the wall, a dusty abandoned ball pit, and when he thought about it, Jeff was kind of creepy too. He looked 100 years old, but was probably just 30. With those heavy-lidded, bloodshot eyes, the stained apron, and the slow speech and movement, he was like a zombie pizza chef. Oswald thought about his argument with Dad that morning. Soon Dad would be texting him, expecting him to come outside to the car. Well, today was going to be different. Today, Dad would have to come and find him. There was one perfect place to hide. Oswald was going into the pit. It's like I looked over the screen as soon as I was going to say into the pit. That's Into the Pit. Exactly. Also, roll credits. I'm going to drink to that. Oh, I thought there was someone out there. Okay, never mind. The pit was pretty gross, really, obviously untouched for years. The plastic spheres were covered in a gray, fuzzy dust. But hiding there would be a great prank on his dad. His dad, who was always dropping him off and picking him up like somebody's dry cleaning, would actually have to get out of the car and make an effort for a change. Oswald wouldn't make it easy for him either. Oswald took off his shoes. Yes, the ball pit was disgusting, but at least getting into it would make it today different from all the other days that had come before it. He climbed into the pit, roll credits, and felt the balls partying to make room for his body. He moved his arms and legs, was a little like swimming if you could swim in a dry plastic spheres. He found his footing at the bottom of the pit. Some of the balls were strangely sticking, but he tried not to think about why. If he was going to trick his dad, he was going to have to go all the way under. Here we go, boys. This is where we get into the good stuff. Can't go away, I don't want you. He took a deep breath as if he were about to jump into a swimming pool and fell to his knees. That put him into his neck. That put him up to his neck. Cat, shut up, you're not getting it. Wiggling around so he was sitting on the pit's floor, put his head under too. The balls spread apart far enough that he could breathe. but it was dark and made him feel claustrophobic. The place stank of dust and mildew. Cat, go away. I'm gonna literally smash your paws if you don't go away. He could hear his mother's voice saying, "You're going to get pink eye." Like, I wish I could cut my cat's paw off if she would not stop. Like, literally, she always does this. Like, literally, you can see it over there. Her paw's right there. I don't know why she does this. And yes, this is truth that I'm reading into the bit. The smell was really getting to him. The dust tickled his nose. He felt a sneeze coming on, but he couldn't move his hand through the spheres fast enough to reach his nose. Okay, that's it. Go. I'm gonna punch that cat. Yes. LOL, definitely. For you, but for me, nah. Freaking cat, dude. Cat is a complete pain. Maybe it's a theory that I'm secretly Oswald, but not. Name reveal? I'm just kidding. He felt a sneeze coming on, but he couldn't move his hands through the spheres fast enough to reach his nose and muffle it. He sneezed 3 times, each one louder than the one before. Oswald didn't know if his dad was looking for him yet, but if he was, the sneezing ball pit had probably given away. Alright, here we go. Frickin'. I gave my cat a light punch. A light punch. Don't worry. Giving away his location. Besides, it was too dark and too gross in there. He had to come up for air. He had a burp there. As he rose, his ears were assaulted by the sound of beeping electronics and yelling and laughing kids. Ooh, okay, here we go. It took a few seconds for his eyes to adjust from the darkness of the pit to the brightness that now surrounded him. The flashing lights and vivid colors. He looked around and muttered, "Toto, I think we're not in Kansas anymore." If you get that reference, you're awesome. Oh, jeez. Okay, I'm just looking at the rest of this, and this is what it says. I'm not even kidding. The walls were lined with shiny arcade cabinets, housing games he'd heard his dad talk about from his own childhood. Miss Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Frogger, Cubert, Galaga. Literally, that's what it says. Literally, this is what it says. If it would focus. Focus your freaking phone. I don't know why my phone won't focus. Like, it could focus perfectly right here, but it for some reason won't focus here. It's like, phone focus. Could my phone focus for once? But, whatever, it says it. But my phone won't focus for some reason. A neon light claw machine displayed plush blue elf-like creatures and orange cartoon cats. Orange hamster, get on this. He looked down at the pit and realized he was surrounded by little kids wallowing in the strange, clean and now brightly colored plastic orbs. He stood over the preschoolers like a giant. He stepped out of the pit to find his shoes, but they were gone. Standing on the colorful carpet in his socks' feet, he looked around. There were lots of kids his age and younger. But there was something different about them. Everyone's hair was styled and fluffy, and the boys wore polo shirts in colors like lots of guys. And the boys wore polo shirts in colors lots of guys wouldn't be caught dead in. like pink or aqua. The girl's hair was almost unbelievably big, with bangs that stood out from their foreheads like claws. They wore pastel-colored tops that matched their pastel-colored shoes. The colors, the lights, the sounds, it was sensory overload. And what was that music? Oswald looked around to see where it was coming from. Across the room, on a small stage, a trio of animatronic animals blinked their big blank eyes, opened and closed their mouths, and pivoted back and forth in sync of a jangly, annoying song. There was a brown bear, a blue rabbit with a red bow tie, and some kind of big girl. They reminded Oswald of the mechanical animals that he caught himself drawing lately. The difference was that he could never decide if the animals in his drawings were cute or creepy. These were creepy. Strangely, though, the dozen or so little kids surrounding the stage didn't seem to think so. They were wearing birthday party hats with pictures of the characters on them, and dancing and laughing and having a great time. When the smell of pizza hit Oswald's nose, he understood. He was still in Jeff's Pizza, or more accurately, what Jeff's Pizza had been before Jeff took over. The ball pit was new and not roped off, all the outlets on the wall and arcade games plugged into them, and he turned around to face the left wall. In the shapes of the shadows on the wall of Jeff's Pizza was a mural, whatever, of the same characters performing on the stage. The brown bear, the blue rabbit, and the big girl. The big girl. I'll drink to that. Below their faces were the words, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Oswald's inside turned to ice water. How had this happened? He knew where he was, but he didn't know when it was or how he got there. Somebody bumped into him, and he jumped more than was normal. Since he felt the physical contact, this must not be a dream. He couldn't decide if this fact was good news or not. Sorry, dude, the kid said. He was about Oswald's age, and he was wearing a light yellow polo with the collar turned up, tucked into what looked like a pair of dad jeans. The white tennis shoes he had on were huge, like clown shoes. He looked as if he had spent a long time fixing his hair. Are you okay? Yeah, sure. Freaking burp, stop burping. Oswald said he wasn't sure if he was okay. Actually, he didn't know how to begin to explain his situation. I've not seen you here before, the kid said. Yeah, Oswald said, trying to figure out an explanation that wouldn't sound too weird. I'm just visiting here, staying with my grandma for a few weeks. This place is great, though. All these old games. Old games? The kid said, raising an eyebrow. You're joking, right? I don't know about where you're from, but Freddy's has the newest games around here. They're like freaking Galaga, Miss Pac-Man, and Donkey Kong. Yeah, it definitely does. Anyways, that's why the lines to play them are so long. Oh yeah, I was just kidding. Oswald said, because he couldn't think of anything else to say. He had heard his dad talk about playing a lot of these games when he was a kid. Absurdly hard games, he said, on which he had wasted many hours and many quarters. I'm Chip, the kid said, running his finger through his poofy hair. Me and my buddy Mike, he nodded at a tall black kid. A tall black kid, lovely, wearing huge eyeglasses and a shirt with wide red and blue stripes. We're about to play some skee-ball. Want to come with? Sure, Oswald said. It was nice to hang out with some other kids, even if they seemed to be kids from another time. He didn't think this was a dream, but it was sure as weird as one. You got a name? Mike said, looking at Oswald like he was some kind of strange specimen. It's a strange specimen. Oh, sure, I'm Oswald. He said he had been too weirded out to remember to introduce himself. Mike gave him a friendly slap on the back. Well, I've got to warn you, Oswald. I'm a beast at skee-ball, but I'll go easy on you since you're new here. Thanks for having mercy on me, Oswald said. He followed them to the skee-ball area. On the way, on the way, what the heck? Oh crap! I skipped a page. My bad. On the way, they passed somebody in a rabbit suit that looked like a yellow version of the animatronic rabbit on the stage. Here we go, boys. Nobody else seemed to be paying attention to the rabbit guy, so Oswald didn't say anything. It was probably a Freddy Fazbear's employee dressed up to entertain the little kids at the birthday party. Mike wasn't kidding about being a beast at skee-ball. He easily beat Chip and Oswald 3 times. But he was a good sport, and they spent the whole time joking around. It felt good being included. But after another couple of games, Oswald started to worry. What time was it really? How long had his dad been looking for him? And how was he going to get back to his real life? Sure, he wanted to give Dad a little scare, but he didn't want to scare the old man so much he got the police involved. Hey guys, I better run, Oswald said. My grandma, he almost said, just texted me. He realized Chip and Mike would have no idea what he was talking about. Whenever this was, there was no cell phones. My grandma's supposed to pick me up in a few minutes. Okay, dude, maybe we'll catch you later. Chip and Mike gave a little nod and waved. Oswald felt his companions stood in a corner in his sock feet and wondered what to do. He was having some kind of magical experience. He was late getting back, and he was missing his shoes, and he was like some kind of mixed up guy Cinderella. And my throat is starting to hurt, so I'm gonna go ahead and take a drink. How to get back? He could walk out the front door of Freddy Fazbear's, but where would that take him? It might be the right place to find his dad's car waiting, but it wasn't the right time. Not the right this decade. Even then, it dawned on him. Maybe the way out was the same way he got in, at the ball pit. A mom was telling her 2 little kids it was time to leave. They tried to argue with her, but she turned on her stern mom voice and threatened them with an early bedtime. Once they got out, he sank beneath the surface before anybody could see that a kid over there was height limit was in the ball pit. How long to stay under? Randomly, he decided to count to 100, then stand. He rose to his feet and found himself standing in the dusty, roped-off ball pit at Jeff's Pizza. He climbed out and found his shoes were right where he left them. His phone vibrated in his pocket. He took it out and read, "We'll be there in 2 minutes." But no time passed at all. He headed out the door, and Jeff called, "See ya, kid," behind him. "This looks great, Mom," Oswald said, spearing a sausage link with his fork. "Ooh, you're in a good mood today," Mom slid a waffle onto his plate. "Quite a contrast from yesterday when you were Mr. Grumpy Pants." "Yeah," Oswald said. "They're supposed to get my book in the library today." Could I stop burping for once? The statement was true, but it was the reason Oswald was in a good mood. Of course, it wasn't like he could tell her the reason. If he said, "I discovered a ball pit at Jeff's Pizza that lets me travel in time," Mom would be dropping the waffles and picking up the phone to call the nearest child psychologist. Oswald picked up his book at the library, but was too impatient to read it. He headed over to Jeff's Pizza as soon as it opened at 11. Jeff was in the kitchen when he got there, so he made a beeline for the pit. He shucked his off his shoes, stepped in, and sank into the depths. Since it had seemed to work before, he counted to 100 before he stood. The animatronic band was playing some weird jangly song that was particularly drowned by the beeping, blipping, and dingling of a variety of games. He wandered the floor and took in the video games, the whack-a-mole, the neon-lighted token suckers that let you win some tickets. Well, probably not. If you pushed the button at the right time, older kids crowded around the video games. Preschoolers climbed on the crayon-colored play equipment. Pink Eye, Oswald thought, he had no room to talk. The way he was driving into the ball pit these days. Everything looked as if it had before. He even caught sight of a calendar hanging in an office that helped him pinpoint the date. 1985. That was the year no, it was in 84. It was 84. Yes. Hey, it's Oswald! Chip was wearing a baby blue polo with his dad's jeans and giant sneakers this time. Not a hair on his head was out of place. Not a hair on his head was out of place. Anyways. Hey Oz, Mike said. He was wearing a Back to the Future t-shirt. Really? Anybody ever call you that like the Wizard of Oz? 2. They do now, Oz said, grinning. He had gone from having the loneliest summer ever to having 2 new friends and a nickname. True, all of these seemed to be happening in the mid-1980s, but why get hung up on the details? Hey, Chip said, we just ordered a pizza. You want to come have some? We ordered a large, so there's more we can eat. Speak for yourself, Mike said, but he was grinning. Okay, Chip said, how about I say it's more than we should eat? Want to join us? Oswald was curious how Freddy Fazbear's pizza compared with Jeff's. Sure, thanks. On the way to their table, they passed someone in the same yellow rabbit suit, was standing in the corner still as a statue. Here's bring money. Chip and Mike either didn't see him or ignored him, so Oswald tried to ignore him as well. Why hide in a corner like that, though? If he worked for a restaurant, surely he wasn't supposed to act all creepy. Here we go, boys. At the table, a young woman with big blonde hair and blue eyeshadow served them a large pizza and a pitcher of soda. If I could stop burping, that'd be great. In the background, the animatronic band played on the pizza was pepperoni and sausage with a crispy crust. A nice change from plain cheese slices, you know, Mike said between bites. When I was little, I loved Freddy Fazbear's Band. I even had a stuffed Freddy I used to sleep with. Now I look up at the stage and those things give me the creeps. It's weird, huh? How stuff you like as a little kid gets creepy when you're older. Yeah, it kind of is like that. Chip helped himself to get another slice, like clowns. Yeah, or dolls, Mike said between bites. Sometimes I look at my sister's dolls all lined up on the shelves in her room, and it's like they're staring at me. Or like that guy in the yellow rabbit costume, Oswald thought, but he didn't say anything. After they demolished the pizza, they played some skee-ball, Mike mopping the floor with them again, but being really nice about it. Oswald didn't worry about the time anymore. But because apparently time here doesn't pass the same way as in his own time after zone. After skee ball, they took turns playing air hockey in pairs. Oswald was surprisingly decent at it, and even managed to beat Mike once. Oh, air hockey. Oh, I played that before. When they started to run low on tokens, Oswald thanked them for sharing their wealth and said he hoped to see them again soon. After they said their goodbyes, Oswald waited until no one was looking and disappeared into the pit. Roll credits. Hanging out with Chip and Mike turned into a regular thing. Today they weren't even playing games. They were just sitting at a booth, drinking sodas and talking, trying to ignore the animatronic animals' annoying music as much as they could. You know what movie I liked? Chip said. His polo shirt was peach colored today. Oswald loved the guy, but really didn't he? But really, didn't he know? But did he own one shirt that wasn't the color of an Easter egg? The Eternal Song. Seriously, Mike said, pushing his huge glass up on his nose. That movie was so boring. It was like The Eternal Song is the perfect title for the movie because I don't think it was ever gonna end. They all laughed and then Chip said, "What did you think of it, Oz?" I haven't seen that one. Oswald said he said that a lot when hanging out with Chip and Mike. Once Oswald listened to them talk about movies and shows they liked. When they mentioned one he didn't know, he looked it up online when he got home. He made a list of 80s movies he wanted to watch and checked the TV listings on the DVR, freaking knows, to see when any of them might be showing. Oswald participated in Chip and Mike's conversations as much as he could. If I could stop burping. It was kind of like being a foraging. If I could stop my ear, freaking foraging exchange student. He sometimes had to fake his way through my smiling and nodding and being generally agreeable. Man, you need to get out more, Mike said. Maybe you can go to the movies with Chip and me sometime. That'd be cool, Oswald said, because what else could he say? Actually, I'm from the distant future, and I don't think it's physically possible for me to see you any place but in Freddy Fazbear's in 1985. They both think that was a joke. Jeez, it's freaking... They'd both think that was a joke on Mike because his favorite movie was Back to the Future. Name one movie you've seen that you really like. Chip said to Oswald, I'm trying to figure out what your taste is. Oswald's mind went blank. What was a movie from the 80s? E.T. E.T. Mike slapped the table laughing. E.T. was like 3 years ago. You really do need to get out more. Do they not have movie theaters where you come from? They do, Oswald thought. And they have Netflix and PlayStation and YouTube and social media. Never would I hear PlayStation, YouTube, or Netflix in a FNAF book. But he didn't say it. Of course, there was technology Chip and Mike talked about. He had only the vaguest knowledge of, like, VCRs and boomboxes and cassette tapes, and he constantly had to remind himself not to talk about things like cell phones and tablets and the internet. He tried not to wear t-shirts with characters and references that might confuse them or the other customers at 1985 Freddy Fazbear's. Yeah, we definitely need to bring you up to date, Chip said. If you only knew, Oswald thought. Hey, do you want to go play some games? Mike said. I feel skee-ball calling me, but I promise I'll go easy on you. Chip laughed. No, you won't. You'll murder us. You guys go ahead, Oswald said. I think I'll just stay at the table. What, and watch the show? Mike said, nodding in the direction of the creepy characters on stage. Is something wrong? If you suddenly decide you like Freddy Fazbear's music, we need to get you up fast. No, nothing's wrong, Oswald said, but really something was. For the first few visits in 1985 Freddy Fazbear's, it hadn't even occurred to him that it was basically mooching off Chip and Mike's generosity because he had never had, dang it, skip 2 pages, any money of his own. Even if he wasn't broke in his own time zone, when the money he brought from the present day even work in 1985, it was kind of pitiful being broke in 2 decades. If I could stop burping. Finally he said, I just feel like I'm always taking your money because I never have any. Hey dude, it's cool, Chip said. We hadn't even noticed. Yeah, Mike said. We just figured your grandma never gave you any money. I know my grandma doesn't except when it's my birthday. They were being really nice, but Oswald still felt embarrassed. If they had talked about his lack of money, that meant they would had noticed it. How much? How about I just go hang out with you while we play? Oswald said when he stood up. He felt a strange heaviness in his pockets. Something in them was so heavy that he felt like his jeans might fall down. He reached in his pockets and pulled out a double handful of 1985 Freddy Fazbear's game tokens. He produced handful after handful of dumped them on the table. Or we could all play using these, he said. He had no idea how to explain the magic that had just occurred. I guess I forgot I was wearing these pants. The ones that had all the tokens in them. Chip and Mike looked a little confused. But then they grinned and started raking coins off the table into their empty soda cups. My dad could calm down and stop being loud like always. Oswald did the same. He decided just to go with the weirdness. He didn't know how the tokens got there, but then again, he didn't really know how he got there either. In the morning, as Dad was driving him to the library, Oswald asked, "Dad, how old were you in 1985? "I was just a couple years older than you," Dad said, "and other than baseball, as all I could think about was how many quarters I had to spend at the arcade." "Why do you ask?" "No reason in particular," as Oswald said. "I've just been doing some research. Jeff's Pizza, back before it was Jeff's Pizza, it was some kind of arcade, wasn't it?" "Yeah, it was." Dad's voice sounded strange, nervous maybe. He was quiet for a few seconds, then said, "But it closed." If I could stop burping. "Like everything else in this town," Oswald said. "Pretty much, yeah," Dad said, pulling up in front of the library. Maybe it was Oswald's imagination, but it seemed like his dad was relieved to get to their destination so he wouldn't have to answer any more of his questions. At 11 o'clock sharp, Oswald headed over to Jeff's Pizza as had become his habit. With Jeff nowhere in sight, Oswald proceeded to the pit. Luckily, he didn't say into the pit. After his count to 100, he stood. There were noises, but not the usual ones of Freddy Fazbear. Screams, crying, children yells for help, the fast footfalls of people running chaos. Were Chip and Mike here? Were they okay? Was anybody here okay? He was afraid. Part of him wanted to disappear back into the pit. Roll credits. But he was worried about his friends. Also, he was burning with curiosity about what was going on. Even though he knew whatever it was horrible. He wasn't in danger, he told himself, because this was the past. Freaking nose itchy. He wasn't in danger, he told himself, because this was the past, a time way before he was born. His life couldn't be in danger in the time before he even existed. Could it be? Could it? His stomach in knots. He moved through the crowd, past crying mothers running with their toddlers in their arms, past dads grasping children's hands and leading them swiftly toward the exit. Their faces masked of shock. "Chip? Mike?" called, but his friends were nowhere to be seen. Maybe they hadn't come to Freddy Fazbear today. Maybe they were safe. Scared but feeling as if he had to know what was happening, Oswald walked in the opposite direction from everyone else, an escalating feeling of dread. In front of him stood the man in the yellow bunny costume. If it was a man under there. The bunny opened a door that said private and went inside. Oswald followed. The corridor was long and dark. The rabbit looked at him with blank eyes and an unchanging grin, then walked farther down the hall. Oswald wasn't chasing the rabbit. He was letting the rabbit lead him, as if he were in a terrifying version of Alice in Wonderland, going down the rabbit hole. The rabbit stopped in front of a door with a sign reading party room and beckoned for Oswald to come inside. Oswald was shaking with terror, but he was too curious to refuse. Besides, he kept thinking, you can't hurt me, I haven't been born. Once inside the room, it took Oswald a few seconds to register what he was actually seeing and a few more seconds for his brain to process it. We're getting to the good crap, boys. They were lined up against the wall, which was painted with images of the place's mascots. The grinning bear, the blue bunny, and the bird girl. Oh, the bird girl! Freaking half a dozen kids, none of them older than Oswald, were lifeless bodies dropped into sitting positions, their legs stretched out in front of them. Some of them had their eyes closed as if asleep. Others were open, frozen in an empty, doll-like stare. They were all wearing Freddy Fazbear birthday party hats. Oswald couldn't tell how they would died, but the rabbit was responsible for it. The rabbit had wanted him to see his handiwork. Maybe the rabbit wanted... Oh, not gonna trigger me with that. Not gonna trigger me with that. Not gonna trigger me with that. Why does he for some reason do that? Maybe the rabbit wanted Oswald to be his next victim, to join the lined up against the wall with their unseeing eyes. Oswald screamed. The yellow rabbit lunged for him, and he ran out of the room and down the black corridor. Jeez, they're still going. Maybe the rabbit could hurt him. Maybe he couldn't Oswald. Maybe he couldn't. Oswald didn't want to hang around long enough to find out. He ran in across the now empty arcade toward the ball pit. Outside, the police sirens screams matched Oswald's own. The rabbit ran after him, getting so close that a fuzzy paw brushed Oswald's back. Oswald dove into the pit. He counted to 100 as fast as he could. When he stood, the first thing he heard was Jeff's voice. "There's the little stinker." Oswald turned to see his dad stomping toward him while Jeff looked on. Dad looked furious, and Jeff didn't look happy either. Not that he ever did. Oswald stood frozen, too overwhelmed to move. His dad grabbed his arm and pulled him out of the ball pit. "What were you thinking hiding that nasty old thing?" Dad said. "Didn't you hear me calling you?" After Oswald was out, his dad leaned over the pit. Look at how dirty this is." Your mother, a pair of yellow arms, reached out of the pit and pulled Dad under. Right down under. The struggle would have been cartoonish if it hadn't been so terrifying. Dad's feet in the brown work boots kicked up to the surface, only to disappear below. Then a pair of big fuzzy yellow feet appeared, only to disappear too. The balls in the pit roiled like a stormy sea, and then they were still. The yellow rabbit rose from the pit, adjusted his purple bow tie, brushed off his front, and turned toward Oswald, grinning. Oswald backed away, but the rabbit was beside him. Its arm finally firmed around Oswald's shoulder, guiding him toward the exit. Oswald looked at Jeff, who stood behind the counter. Maybe Jeff would help him. But Jeff wore the same hang-dog expression he always wore and just said, "See you later, guys." How could anyone act like this situation was normal? Once the rabbit got him outside, it opened the passenger door of Dad's car and pushed Oswald in. As the bunny buckled its seatbelt and started the car, it tried to open the door, but the bunny activated the power lock from the driver's side. The bunny's mouth was frozen in a rictus grin. Its eyes stared blankly. Oswald pushed the unlock button again, even though he knew it wouldn't work. "Wait," Oswald said. "Can you do any of this? Can you even drive the car?" Maybe a phone call, it would hear him, but maybe he could send a text. He took out his phone and, with shaking his hands, texted Mom, emergency, something's wrong with Dad, come home soon. Oswald knew even as he texted that she wouldn't be coming home now because she was always dealing with medical emergencies at work. Sometimes it took her a long time to check her phone. It was Dad who Oswald was supposed to contact even in the event of the emergency, but obviously it wasn't going to work now. A miserable hour passed until Oswald's phone vibrated, afraid the rabbit might still be listening outside its locked door, and picked up without saying hello. Oswald, what's going on? Mom sounded terrified. Do I need to call 911? I can talk. I can't talk now, Oswald whispered. I'm on my way home, okay? She hung up. 15 minutes seemed to pass more slowly than Oswald thought was possible. Then there was a knock on Oswald's door. Oswald jumped, his heart in his throat. Who is it? It's me, Mom said, sounding exasperate. Open the door. He opened the door, just a crack to make sure it was really her. Once he let her in, he closed and locked the door behind him. Oswald, you need to tell me what's going on. Mom brow the furrowed with worry. Where to start? How to explain without sounding crazy? It's Dad. He's not okay. I'm not even sure where he is. Mom put her hand on both of his shoulders. Oswald, I just saw your dad. He's lying on the bed in your room, on our bedroom, watching TV. He made you a chicken pot pie for dinner. It's sitting on the stove. Wait, I'm not hungry. He tried to wrap his mind around his mom's words. You saw Dad? Mom nodded. She was looking at him like he was one of her patients, instead of her kind kid, like she was trying to figure out what was wrong with him. And he's okay. She nodded again. He's okay. But I'm worried about you. She put her hand on his forehead as if checking for fever. I'm okay, Oswald said. I mean, if Dad's okay, I'm okay. He just didn't seem okay. Maybe it's good school starting back. I think you're spending too much time by yourself. What could he say? Actually, I've been spending time with my new friends in 1985. Maybe so. I probably shouldn't just go on to bed. I have to get an early start in the morning. I think that's a good idea, Mom said. She put her hands on his cheeks and looked at him directly in the eyes. And listen, if you're going to text me at work, make sure it's a real emergency. You scared me. I thought it was a real emergency. I'm sorry. It's alright, honey. Get some rest, okay? Okay, after Mom left, Oswald looked under the bed. Jinx was still there, crouched in a ball like she was trying to make herself as small and invisible as possible. Her eyes wide open and terrified. It's okay, Jinxie, Oswald said, reaching under the bed and wiggling his fingers at her. Mom says it's safe. You can come out now. The cat wouldn't budge. Oswald lay awake in bed. If Mom and Dad was there and okay, then it must be true. Why would she lie? But Oswald knew what he had seen. He had seen the yellow thing as he had started to think of it. Dragged his dad into the pit. He had seen the yellow thing climb out of the pit. Had felt its grip on his arm. Sat beside it in the car as it drove him home. Or had he, if Mom and Dad was home and okay, he must be. Oswald trusted his mom, but if Dad was okay, it meant Oswald hadn't seen what he thought he saw, and that must mean that Oswald was losing his mind. After only a few hours of fitful sleep, Oswald woke to the aroma of frying ham and baking biscuits. His stomach rumbled, reminding him that he missed dinner last night. Everything felt normal. Maybe he should just treat yesterday like a bad dream and try to move forward, a new school year and a new beginning. He stopped in the bathroom, then he made his way to the kitchen. Feeling better, Mom asked. There she was, her hair in a ponytail, wearing the pink fuzzy bathrobe, fixing breakfast just like always. Something about this fact made Oswald feel relieved. he said, I'm pretty hungry actually. Now that's a problem I can fix. Mom said she set down a plate with 2 ham biscuits on it and poured him a glass of orange juice. Oswald ate the first ham biscuit in 3 bites. The yellow thing walked in and sat across him at the breakfast table. Mom, Oswald's heart beat like a jackhammer in his chest. The ham biscuit sat too heavy in the churning stomach. What is it, hun? Her back was turned at the film with a coffee maker. Where's Dad? She turned around the coffee pot in her hand. Oswald, your dad is sitting right across from you. If this is some kind of elaborate prank, you can cut it out right now because it has officially stopped being funny. She poured a cup of coffee and set it down in front of the yellow thing, which story does not want to end. Stop right here. Which stared straight ahead, its mouth set in an unhinged grin. Oswald knew he wasn't getting anywhere. Either he was insane or his mom was. Okay, I understand. I'll cut it out. I apologize. May I be excused so I can get ready for school? Of course, Mom said, but she was looking at him kind of funny. Oswald stopped in the bathroom to brush his teeth and then went to his room to get his backpack. He peeked under his bed to find Jinx still hiding there. Well, it's good to know that there's somebody else in his family who has some sense. He said once Oswald came back into the kitchen, the yellow thing was standing by the door, car keys in its paw. Is, Dad taking me to school? Oswald asked. He didn't know if he could bear sitting beside it in the car. Again, hoping it was watching him, the road as it stared through the windshield with its empty eyes. Doesn't he always? Mom said. He could hear the worry in her voice. Have a good day, okay? Seeing no choice, Oswald got in the car beside the yellow thing. Once again, it locked all the doors from the driver's side. It backed out of the driveway and passed a jogging neighbor who waved at it just as if it were his dad. And that's where I'm going to stop for now. Because my throat is going to die. Like, I'm not even